Hey, what's up, man? The Act Man, I watched some of your videos, like your World War II videos, talking about the game and your feedback on it. I just want to know, I like your videos, keep it up, man.
What can I say except you're welcome? What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, I'm confused. Because ever since Modern Warfare 2.1, my interest in the Call of Duty series has been steadily declining. While I'll occasionally dip my feet back in, for the longest time I felt like the glory days of Modern Warfare 1 and 2, World at War, and Black Ops 1 could just never be recaptured. And I still feel that way. But at the same time, I'm pretty surprised with Black Ops 4's beta, in both good and bad ways. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my thoughts on whether or not I feel like buying this when it releases. I feel like it's easy to hate on whatever the newest Call of Duty is. It's easy to talk shit about it.
Hello, and welcome to the community reveal of Call of Duty Black Ops 4. On behalf of Activision...
Oh, you stink! And as most of you know, with any game series, I always try to look at the positives and negatives. So these are going to be my honest thoughts and opinions about Black Ops 4. So let's talk about it. What does it do right, and what does it do wrong? But first I gotta get some things off my chest. Insert stereotypical, this is just a beta disclaimer here. While it won't represent the final product exactly, realistically there's about 2 months before they've got to start shipping copies. So I can almost guarantee there won't be many huge sweeping changes. And I know the Call of Duty fanbase can be pretty mixed at times. It's okay to like a Call of Duty game, and it's okay to dislike it. This might be a suggestion all in vain, but could you just let me have my opinions, por favor? One thing I'll say is no matter which COD game it is, they're almost always fun to play when you're doing well. Yes, even COD World War II to a certain degree. When you get those kill streaks and you're killing people and you're just dominating, it's fun. Now, I had some pretty good matches in Black Ops 4, and perhaps that will impact my feelings towards the game. We'll see. Call of Duty in these last few years seems to be nothing more than the accrued trends in the FPS genre taken from other games and thrown into the mixing pot, while Activision stirs in some microtransaction loot box spices. For COD World War II, it was the safe space, social space of Destiny. Then they tried to replicate the operations mode from Battlefield. They've been pushing these specialist heroes, kind of like Overwatch. I know Black Ops 3 came out before, okay? They've got these new elements that clearly looks like Rainbow Six Siege, with the razor wire, the barriers, even the sort of equipment cooldown timer from Destiny and Battlefront. It's kind of a mess, to be honest. Like an amalgamation of all these different concepts and ideas. But whether or not all these things work together is entirely up to you. Now, why am I confused with Black Ops 4? Well, it's because for every single thing I like about it, there's a drawback. We've got these specialist classes which all have pretty cool and impactful abilities that change your playstyle, depending on which class it is. But it's strange that they're limited to one each, and sometimes you're forced to play as a specialist you don't want to. So is this their attempt at, team-oriented Overwatch-style gameplay? Because in Black Ops 3, you just picked who you wanted and played as that. It's strange to me. Let's talk core gameplay and some of the huge changes Treyarch have implemented. Well, for one, there's a freaking health bar. Yeah, instead of having regenerating health that was always vague about how much life you have left, now you know exactly how much health you have. And I do like this change because it is a change. And if you think it sucks, that's fine, man. I'm just glad this will switch up the gameplay. It gives us something new, a fresh twist on the classic Call of Duty gameplay. The healing system forces players to make more meaningful decisions in combat. When to heal, when to reload, when to go prone, etc. If you think about it, advanced movement completely changed Call of Duty's core, and most would say for the worse. But this, I think, is an example of a meaningful innovation without adding in a bunch of absurd movement abilities. You've got to be a bit more strategic and tactical with your health and your decisions, and I like that. Time to kill has been increased, and this too is something I like and have always wanted to see experimented within COD. One of the reasons I gravitated towards Halo over Call of Duty back in the day was because in Halo you always had a chance to turn the fight around, but Call of Duty didn't have as much of that. Giving players control over their health adds a new dynamic to the traditional COD gameplay. It does allow for comebacks. It allows players to turn the tide when another player gets the jump on them. There's not as much leeway as the Halo games, but still, I think this is good. Although, like I said, the drawback is it does feel a bit more erratic than previous games. Like, you just get this feeling that firefights have a little more randomness to them. Overall, hit detection seemed pretty spot on. There wasn't too many technical problems I ran into, which is a good thing. And now, obviously, we're talking about duty of calls, so don't expect Black Ops 4 to look, feel, and play radically different than the previous games. And if you're tired of Call of Duty, chances are this isn't going to get you back into it. But shooting is fluid, the controls are tight, you know what to expect. My favorite new weapons were definitely the chainsaw and fusion cutter. So when it comes to the maps we saw, I thought they were a huge improvement over World War II's. But that's not saying much at all. Contraband is set on a tropical island. It looks pretty good and I enjoy the underwater aspects. Gives the map a bit of depth, flanking routes. Payload is a factory or something. It's got these bridges on the side that you can lower, and that's cool. Little interactivity didn't hurt nobody. Frequency is another factory sort of thing. It's alright. Gridlock is set underneath a Japanese highway, I guess? It's decent. And somehow after playing more than 20 games, I didn't get to play the other two maps. I didn't try Search and Destroy, so maybe I just didn't pick the right playlist or my luck was shit. But I can't really comment on them. However, I'm willing to bet most of what Black Ops 4 will offer will be carried over from COD World War II and these newer games. Small 3-lane maps that are just very safe in their design, basically want to keep you in constant action. It's like a mad dash throughout the map. That seems to be what they go for in these new COD games. And the maps have a lot more going on than COD World War II. There's more verticality, you can actually jump on some of the objects and cars for Christ's sake. It's like they realize they shouldn't make every piece of cover or obstacle just a solid, immovable block. So I'd say overall, what I saw and played was decent. Nothing stood out too strong, and that's kind of the problem. These newer COD games desperately need those iconic maps. They need something like Crash, Shipment, High Rise, Firing Range, Spire from Halo Reach. Just an unforgettable setting or set piece or gimmick that differentiates these maps from one another. They need a few maps that will just be universally loved by the fans. So like I said, the equipment is all cool. I like the mobility of the grappling hook. Again, that's the type of movement stuff they should have, not something that every player has access to. Make it a choice. I loved using the super shield that Ajax carries with the frickin' machine pistol or the K9 dog. But all this awesome equipment replaces the traditional tactical and lethal grenades. So it's not that cool. Now this is heresy, but imagine if Halo 3 had loadouts, and instead of spawning with frag grenades, the default was a bubble shield. Isn't that just weird? This is like the first COD game I can think of where most of the time you run around and play matches without any sort of grenades. I feel naked without my frags, my semtex, my flashbangs. It just feels weird, man. Now I know you unlock them later, and some characters have special grenades or tactical grenades that are pretty overpowered in comparison, but would you really swap out something as cool as the grapple gun for a frag grenade? I think it would just be better if we had both and could toggle them with the D-pad. But while these changes do take me out of my Call of Duty comfort zone, the positive trade-off is each form of equipment has a greater overall impact in the moment-to-moment gameplay. Since its announcement, Black Ops 4 and Treyarch have boasted a more strategic take on the classic Call of Duty formula, and this again is something I'm totally down for. But before you grab your pitchforks, let me say that one of the pros of Call of Duty having annual releases is if you don't like what they give you one year, you can always wait till the next or go back and play one of the older games. Because there's a fuck ton of Call of Duty games, alright? Of course the con to this is franchise fatigue, but I digress. For better and worse, COD hasn't strayed too far from its base mechanics. As far as gunplay and movement, they all look pretty similar. Now, contrary to what a lot of people say, this isn't always a bad thing. Remember how KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 were so similar, but 2 ended up making a lot of improvements to the core gameplay of KOTOR 1 without being a radical departure? That's the type of thing I'm thinking of. Yes, the games are instantly familiar and sometimes visually indiscernible, and because of that, at this point in the Call of Duty franchise, I will gladly welcome change. Good change. But to go back to that analogy, if KOTOR was a yearly release, I think we'd all have gotten sick of it by now. Visually, Black Ops 4 doesn't look much better than Black Ops 3. I mean, it looks slightly more clear, but it's hard to tell the difference. Now again, it could be that they scale back the quality of graphics to make sure the beta runs smooth. You know, sometimes the beta looks worse than the finished product, and other times the finished product looks worse than the beta. So what this is signaling to me is that the 3-year gap between games isn't showing much improvement visually. You'd expect that 5 years into this generation of consoles that Call of Duty would just look incredible, it'd be breathtaking. And while I don't think it looks bad, it's just not impressive. Now you want to know what bugs the shit out of me with this beta? It's the old tried and true Actman criticism, the fucking user interface. You want to see what I'm talking about? Just watch. And stop. Look at this for a second. Look at how much shit is on the screen right now. We've got the scoreboard, which is incredibly small, the mini-map, the objective marker, kill feed, health bar, specialist icon, a kill streak ready, a weapon on the ground, the damage I just dealt to that player, my cooldowns below, ammo count, and weapon, which is barely visible, kill streaks, which are barely visible, what I just unlocked here, the beta gameplay watermark, and a fucking behemoth of a notification up top. Now, I realize from game to game all this shit on the screen will rarely be there at the same time, but you see how messy this is? Why on earth the game deems it important to shrink my kill streaks and ammo count in favor of letting me know I leveled up my weapon is beyond me. Just show me that shit at the end of the game. Why does it have this huge box around it? Is that really necessary? Do you need to take up 1/6 of my screen in order to release the dopamine in my body? Okay, now for comparison, just look at Modern Warfare 2. You got the mini-map, which is smaller and much more precise, a clear scoreboard that helpfully tells you if you're winning or losing, kill feed which has its opacity lowered for clarity, a clearly visible ammo count, and nades. This looks good. It's clean. It doesn't distract you from the game itself. The only time you'd get a notification is for a kill streak or level up. The point of this rant is you don't make the game any more fun or cool by throwing all this crap on my screen. Show it to me later. Make the important stuff, the things I care about in this particular match, more visible to me. Especially the kill streaks and ammo. I don't even know how to count this. Just give me a number, overall number, with my clip size. It's so hard to see, it's minuscule. Even in the create a class menu, everything is just so small. And I'm playing this on a 40-inch TV screen, people. So now that I have my petty rant out of the way, let's naturally segue into the create a class, and then the mini-map. Well, it's the same 10-point system we saw in Black Ops 3 and previous games, Black Ops 2. Nothing too big to discuss here. Everything is pretty good. There are familiar and some new weapon attachments. Shotguns have been moved to the secondary slot, and for once in a goddamn lifetime, we can finally put attachments onto rocket launchers. The day has finally come, people. They did it. They finally did it. Treyarch has done the unthinkable. Round of applause for them. I see a lot of small but noticeable and appreciated improvements in this version of Create a Class. However, the perks are a different story. Now, it might just be me, maybe some of you feel the same way, but I feel like with every new COD game, 90% of the perks are things we've seen before. The only new perk was Team Link, which lets you see your teammates through walls and helps with minimap vision. Perks and upgraded perks with slightly better functionality that you had to earn were a huge cornerstone of Modern Warfare 2. Look at the perks in that game. Everything is useful in there. Some of it, yeah, might be overpowered and broken, but I reference Modern Warfare 2 because it's the multiplayer I played the most and enjoyed the most and created the most classes with. The perks were a big part of that because I felt like my decisions while creating a class were so important. And the perks here just aren't interesting. And I know they'll have more, and I hope some of it is new. Though I will say, it's nice that Scavenger is actually a useful perk now. For some reason, in almost every COD game that's had it, I've always felt like the games were far too generous with ammo, making Scavenger irrelevant. Everything I just said about perks applies to the kill streaks too. A lot of the same, not much that feels new. So what about the minimap and how vision works in this game? Because Treyarch made some sweeping renovations here too. The minimap has always been pretty straightforward and vitally important to Call of Duty's formula. So when you tinker with it, it's gotta be careful. UAVs and other kill streaks reveal them, shooting without a silencer reveals them, but now there's like this fog of war mechanic? I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I think you're only revealed on the minimap when you're in someone's line of vision, or if you or an ally have some tracking device planted somewhere. It's strange. Again, I like the new changes in trying to differentiate Call of Duty from its previous iterations, but was this necessary? It makes the game more team-focused, I guess? But like, can I fire and not be seen on the minimap if I'm not in the fog of war? As this Reddit post highlights, the fog of war mechanic, in its beta form, hurts a lot of playstyles and strategies. I didn't even think about some of this stuff. But I mean, this new fog of war mechanic is going to require some changes for it to not totally fuck with the game. And this is kind of what I think about Black Ops 4 overall. This beta. I've got negative signals coming into my head. It's like I've got the Spetsnaz telling me there's an enemy above! And then I've got Task Force 141 telling me victory is within our grasp! Mixed signals, people. A lot of the new additions, while mixing things up for COD, and bringing with it some cool new mechanics and playstyles, just feel out of place, or like they come at a cost. You know, that's perfect. Everything in Black Ops 4 comes with a cost. Any post-launch content comes with a cost. The awesome new equipment came at the cost of swapping out traditional tactical and lethal grenades. The Battle Royale mode Blackout will come at the cost of single-player campaign. And this is why Black Ops 4 is such a mixed bag for me. Personally, I've always enjoyed Treyarch's Call of Duty games. I think they've always done an at least decent job on the multiplayer. So the difference between Black Ops 4 and COD World War II is I'm most likely going to buy Black Ops 4 to review it for all you sexy acting prodigies. And I also expect to have a bit of fun with it, see if the Blackout mode is any good. However, when it came to COD World War II, after playing the beta, I had very little faith. And I just knew I'd make a pretty, interesting video on it. You know, at the end of the day, nothing has changed with the Black Ops 4 pass. Activision will always fuck these games up and these developers to some degree with their malignant anti-consumer practices, so that's gonna take away from the experience too. Of course, there's gonna be loot boxes and there's probably gonna be weapons added into them, and the monetization schemes just won't end. Overall, I had fun with the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 beta, but what are your thoughts on the beta? What was one thing you liked and one thing you didn't? Do you like or hate any of the new changes, and why? This really was a mixed bag for me, and I honestly look forward to reading your thoughts because I'm so confused with this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace!
What can I say except...
Enemy AC on 30 above!